Welcome everyone to the session. I see some people entering right now. While we let folks in, if you want to put your name in the chat box, your role in organization, and if you have anything good to share, tell us what you're reading, listening to, or watching right now. All right, in the interest of time, knowing that we have an hour and we want to make sure we have ample time to hear from Ector County, who has joined us today, we will get started. But first, we wanted to introduce everyone who will be presenting and sharing on this call. My name is Melissa Yoder. I'm the manager of Educator Standards and Testing and Preparation. Forgot to update that. And I'll pass it off to Jessica to say hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jessica McLaughlin. I'm our Director of Educator Standards Testing and Preparation with the TEA, and I'm excited to be here with you. And I'll pass it off to Ashley Osborne.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ashley Osborne, and I'm representing ECISD today, and I work in the Talent Development Office. And my partner in crime this afternoon is Dr. Howard, so I'll pass it to her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Stephanie Howard. I serve as the Deputy Superintendent here in Ector County ISD and have the privilege of one of the departments that I work with is Human Capital and specifically Talent Development in this case.
Thank you, everyone. Oops. Oh, not too far. Okay, great. All right, so for today's time together, we'll start by taking a high-level look. Well, first of all, we're so excited to be here with all of you, but we'll start by taking a high-level look at the case for high-quality, sustainable teacher residencies through innovative staffing models. It's a mouthful, and we'll kind of give you that 10,000-foot view of why we see that as a integrated strategy to support preparing effective, well-supported teachers. And then we'll move into the bulk of our time together today with Ector County ISD, where they'll be able to share their implementation of the Opportunity Culture Residency model. And then we'll have a little time at the end for some reflection and closure. All right, so let's get started. And, as always, we want to start with the end in mind. And the Effective Schools Framework, which we fondly refer to as our ESF, is our state vision for quality schools. And it does prioritize the retaining effective and well-supported teachers through strategic recruitment, selection, and placement. And it also prioritizes the ongoing development of those teachers to ensure students have access to quality teachers. This is a lot contained in one sentence, right? So we know that in this, in terms of building the system to support this challenging and complex goal, we are putting together a lot of different processes that involve multiple systems and consideration of a lot of complex contexts. We also recognize that this is from the field, we have heard from the field that this is really challenging to tackle. And that this has been an area that the field has indicated, hey, like there isn't a super clear systemic approach to addressing this need. Additionally, in the wake of the pandemic, we have learned that learning acceleration needs of our kids is at an all-time high. And we know that teachers, effective teachers, are one of the highest leverage strategies of supporting our kids. So knowing all of this and the importance of developing these systems and having some true strategies to actually address systems for effective, well-supported teachers, we're asking this big question of like, how do we tackle this massive undertaking? So just to ground us in a little additional context related to effective teachers in Texas, we understand that in our current landscape, teacher retention is a massive challenge and has lots of equally as massive consequences for our student learning. Here's a quick snapshot of current teacher retention. These percentages both represent teacher retention after 5 years. On the left, 66.2% retention represents general education teacher retention after 5 years. And there's 37% represents special education teacher retention after 5 years. While 66.2% is not a high retention rate, 37.7% is even more dire, and that's for those teachers who are supporting some of our most vulnerable populations. So the bottom line we see here is that our Texas schools are facing a lot as they're constantly onboarding and training new teachers, which requires schools and lots of funding, personnel support. And we also see that Texas students, especially those who are in those most vulnerable populations, are in the classrooms of developing teachers. So more about that. As a result, our first year teachers are serving at least 550,000 Texas students. And those students are also most likely to be students of color and economically disadvantaged. So you can see on these graphs here, those bars represented in blue. If you zero in on our most economically disadvantaged teachers, most students are being taught by either 3 years or less experienced teachers in orange, or in the blue, those intern probationary teachers. So we are seeing a lot of our more vulnerable populations being taught by our least experienced teachers. So this speaks obviously to our retention needs in Texas, but it does signal additionally the need for the most quality preparation possible to meet the kids in Texas day one, the needs of our kids, and to really increase the likelihood of teacher retention. Lots of evidence in the field suggests and provides evidence of quality preparation leading to greater teacher retention. All right, so to that end, we have this huge, massive undertaking of building human capital systems, which is a very complex and very human process. Wanted to share this piece of research here in a study that was conducted across over 400,000 students in 3,000 schools. Researchers found that teacher quality impacts student outcomes more than any other aspect of schooling. So it is that one school factor that impacts kids the most. To that end, we believe that recruitment and retention of high quality teachers is so critical to addressing the needs of our students. And alongside that, we also, again, want to reemphasize just those intricacies of building that system that enables that quality teacher preparation, recruitment and induction, individualized teacher growth plans to build capacity, and that also include opportunities for leadership and development on campus. And how do you leverage and combine all those practices to retain your best teachers? This is no easy feat. How do we do it? So to that end, we do believe that high quality, sustainable residencies actually give us the opportunity to have contextualized preparation for our teachers as a lever for change. So asking a few questions. What if your incoming teachers were prepared in your district prior to day one, learning from your district context? What if there was a world where they were engaged in practice-based learning on a daily basis in your classrooms? And what if they were already building relationships and contributing to positive school culture during the preparation? Sounds like a win-win, right? We believe that high quality sustainable residencies have a true trajectory of impact at the candidate level, the LEA system, district systems level, and have that broader community impact. Let's check out some research from the field. So when we look at the candidate level, high quality sustainable residencies provide candidates the opportunity to be well prepared in their districts, instructional practices, and all district related context. With quality preparation that's grounded in district context, they're more likely to stay and positively impact student outcomes. This slide here indicates the 3 factors that drive quality teacher preparation. And essentially, when we're looking at these high quality residency models, we see a strong partnership with our ed preparation programs and our districts to build these models that integrate into high quality sustainable residencies that align to district context. In these models, teachers have access to building their pedagogical content knowledge through their EPP coursework, have a focus on skill building and aligned performance assessments to build that skill and provide them that input and the feedback they need. And then it all culminates in that meaningful pre-service practice, which would look like that structured practice in classrooms within the district campus, where they get to connect that high quality preparation from coursework and skill building into that real world application context where they receive that ongoing feedback. when we move up a level to the LEA systems level, we continue to see the impact. Residencies catalyze the development of sustainable teacher and staffing pipelines and have the potential, with these well-prepared teachers who want to stay, of flooding your district with quality prepared teachers who will stay and enable, and they also enable those embedded leadership opportunities for your strongest master teachers. This research here actually comes from Prepare to Teach. Some of you may have all jumped on some of the training series they put forth a couple of months back. But what they have done here is highlighted how residencies create strong, stable schools to reduce districts' costs in 2 tracks, in teaching and learning and human resources. So like, for example, in the teaching and learning track, one of the areas where we end up spending the most money is probably on the job training for underprepared novice teachers, right? We also, as a result of that lack of preparation, have to, hire personnel, and that attributes to addressing behavioral needs, attendance issues, and remediation practices. On the human resources end, we see higher teacher turnover, thus pushing us towards allocating more money for recruitment dollars, hiring, induction, training, and mentoring, and so on and so forth. And then finally, that broader community impact that residencies can have. Those inputs at that school level will in turn lead to quality and well-supported schools with effective teachers that ultimately impact the trajectory of students' lives in the community. So we look at those 2 tracks again, teaching and learning. We see an increase in instruction, student attendance, graduation rates, college readiness, everything that the ESF drives at and encompasses, right? And then the human resources end of things, we see those stable staffing models, and we have those human capital system pipelines to retain teachers, cultivate relationships, and a diverse teaching workforce. So these all sound great, right? And it's like, well, they're so great, if they really are this true catalyst to impacting human capital systems, what are barriers to making them stick? Research has also borne out that aspiring teachers simply can't work for free and learn how to teach well, right? If we are working a full-time job, we're not going to be as focused on our teaching, and then we can't actually be in the classroom getting this on-the-job experience. Research indicates that 76%, for example, of graduate students who've gone back to become teachers have to work full-time, and they're seeing 40% in undergrads. They're saying that teachers, we know that teachers incur a lot of debt, just like any other person going through a bachelor's or a master's degree. But with low teaching salaries, it makes it even increasingly difficult to pay back that student loan debt. And finally, we also see that, like, even with scholarships, none of those scholarships really defray the cost of living, which takes up a lot of the costs that students face while they're going through any given program. So all these factors combined with the fact that we have now seen that the majority of enrolled folks or candidates in teacher ed are actually from a lot higher income families than lower income families, as a compilation of all these factors. So we're really missing the boat in the opportunity to provide access to a more diverse workforce and more candidates who want to be and will stay in classrooms and in our schools by not exploring the opportunity to fund our residency programs. So that leads to our final question. How do we set up systems to address and implement high quality, sustainable paid residencies? And how do we also enable systems for continuous teacher development? And finally, strong staffing pipelines. So if we fund high quality, sustainable residencies through innovative staffing models, we can potentially have these funded residencies. So this graphic here, we just want to kind of bear out that if we combine the opportunity for our teacher candidates to engage in a residency model with that access to high quality preparation, lots of feedback, assessment, quality programming, but we also fund it through innovative staffing models, we're able to defray like living costs and reduce financial stress, and we provide more access for more diverse candidates. And then we end up with these funded residency programs that lead to strong, diverse teachers who are likely to stay in the profession, That leads to retention of these candidates as teachers, and it will reduce the financial burden and stress of our districts. And then that leads to student outcomes, students with quality teachers, and ultimately benefits the community at large. Sustainable staffing models are able to support that reallocation of staff and money to invest in building that staffing pipeline. So we believe that if innovative staffing models enable funding to pay teacher residents, can build these high quality teacher residency models. And with that, we will get to learn from one of Texas's leaders in this work, Ector County ISD. I'll pass it over to them to share, but they've been working to activate one of these innovative staffing models with a high quality residency this year called the Opportunity Culture Residency model. So I will stop my screen share and pass it off to Ashley to share.
So good afternoon, everyone. We'll start with giving you a little bit of context about Ector County ISD in Odessa, Texas. So we are Ector County ISD, but we do reside in Odessa, Texas, but we serve a larger community and county of approximately 158,000 residents. You can see the little red square there. We're out in West Texas. We serve about 902 square miles, 32,000 students. Prior to COVID, we were closer to 34,000 and growing about 2% each year. However, just like across the state, we saw some declines during COVID, mainly with our pre-K and kindergarten students. We have approximately 2,100 teachers, 4,200 staff members, and 43 schools. What prompted us to begin looking at this and doing this work is 2 years ago, going into the school year, we had over 250 vacancies, almost 300 vacancies during the school year. So at any given, on any given day, if 300 quality teachers had shown up in the district, we could have hired them that day. At this time, we're right below 300 as we, sit in June. And so while there's the teacher shortage across the state, it's really compounded out in the Permian Basin by the volatility of the oil and gas industry. And so when the oil prices are really strong, many of our educators can make more in the oil field or the oil industry. And therefore we have kind of this pendulum swing of people coming and going in our profession. If the oil prices drop and all of a sudden they're needing jobs, we tend to do a lot better as far as getting teachers. But with 50% of our teachers within the 0 to 5 year range, of course, we had to really start looking at the quality of teachers that were coming into our classrooms, those 0 year, and start really thinking about how we prepared them before they ever entered the classroom. I think Ashley's advancing the slides. So last March of 2020, we launched our strategic plan. And while we have 3 different areas, talent development is what we're focused on today. So from the information I shared earlier, it was essential for us to figure out how do we get the best teachers in front of our students. But more importantly than that, with the number of vacancies that we had, how do we extend the reach of our best teachers? How do we get our best teachers in front of more students? And so really rethinking the way that we staffed our campuses, 1 teacher for every 25, 30 students. How do we extend the reach of those great teachers? Because at the end of the day, we just do not have the number of people. Even if we could fill every vacancy, you see there that 45% of 0 to 5 year teachers would definitely have gone up. And so that caused us to start looking at several different areas that we'll talk about today. Really what you'll hear about today is opportunity culture and strategic staffing, but with that comes strategic compensation, really making sure the money's going to those focus areas, and then rethinking about the allocation of funds for FTEs or for positions. And then of course the pipelines into the profession. So what starts as a residency and a strategic staffing model and extending the reach of great teachers really does so much more. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Osborne. She's our Executive Director for Talent Development and specifically leads the work with Opportunity Culture.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Howard. I just want to say everything that Melissa said at the beginning of the session today. Yes, that is exactly what Opportunity Culture affords us as a district. And if you're interested in it, maybe it could afford your school district the same benefits that it's had for us. Dr. Howard really gave you a nice overview of what our district context is, but we also know that kind of seeing is believing, so we wanted to share some images with you of our people. So we wanted you to hear from us that our district is really one that believes in that teacher growth and development. It starts from even before they're teachers with us and then continues as our teachers hone their skill set and grow as teachers. We're an organization that believes in a personalized experience, both for students and teachers. And so that's one of the things that Opportunity Culture has allowed us to do, is provide that personalized professional learning. And I'll talk a bit more about that. And then we're also a district full of kids that really are eager to learn and deserve to have that experience, that really quality educational experience that all kids in all schools across our world really deserve to have. And we believe that by employing Opportunity Culture as one of our strategies, we can do that. Dr. Howard mentioned some of our talent challenges, being new teachers into the profession, getting people into the profession, and then the retention aspect of it. And then again, once people are in our system, how do we grow their capacity to where we have a ton of really excellent teachers and not just kind of pockets of really excellent teachers. And so the Opportunity Culture model, again, allows us to do that. So because of those talent challenges of the teaching vacancies, the lack of experience, we really needed to, we don't have the luxury of wanting to extend the reach of our really excellent teachers. We needed to extend the reach of those best teachers and then find ways to bring more people into the profession. We also needed to provide that personalized professional learning, and that is a mind shift from a more traditional thinking around professional development or professional learning, that personalized job embedded experience for teachers. And again, Opportunity Culture provides for that. It's embedded within the school day and in the classroom. And so we really are seeing a high return on the investment for that. Again, Opportunity Culture for us was a really perfect solution for some of those talent challenges that we have. It incorporates the strategic staffing, as Dr. Howard mentioned, by thinking differently about how we structure our schools. We don't have this mindset in our Opportunity Culture schools of the 25-to-1 student to teacher ratio. We really are thinking differently about the skill set of our teachers and how to utilize that. It also allows us to focus on that pipeline work by implementing the teacher residencies, and we'll talk some more about that. There's also an opportunity for our teachers to grow in their leadership capacity, whether it's a formal leadership capacity or informal leadership, by a more distributed leadership approach. And Opportunity Culture does that so that it's not just the campus principal leading the school wholly and solely, and there's this distributed leadership approach. And then again, with that personalized job embedded professional learning. And we really employ Opportunity Culture because of the structure that it affords us. And this graphic here on the screen kind of shows you that obviously the principal still does lead their campus, but really it's more of a focus on the teams that principal leads. And at the head of that team is what's called a multi-classroom leader. And that term was developed by Public Impact, who is our partner to implement Opportunity Culture. And that multi-classroom leader, their role is to ensure that all students on their team are provided with a really excellent, great educational experience. So I want to drill down a little further into what that team looks like. So again, a way to extend the reach of the very best teachers, and the multi-classroom leader is that very excellent teacher like we've been mentioning. And in order to be employed as a multi-classroom leader, I think it's important to note that there's a very rigorous selection process. It's not just, you know, who wants to be the multi-classroom leader or who the principal thinks should be the multi-classroom leader. There is a very rigorous selection so that you can ensure, based on data, that person gets results with students. You can kind of think of this model as a team of adults that work in concert to really educate the students of the team. That multi-classroom leader leads that. They actually have a group of students that they teach for part of the day, and then they coach part of the day. And that coaching that they do is that job embedded, personalized professional learning for the rest of their teammates. There's some other roles on the team as well to assist in this work. So the team reach teacher is also a really great teacher that has shown success with students. And so they can actually teach more students than you would traditionally think of because they've shown that kind of track record of success, and they're compensated for that too. That's something that I think Dr. Howard mentioned with strategic compensation. Many of these roles do have a stipend associated with them because of the additional responsibility that these roles hold. We also have on the team a reach associate that's an elevated paraprofessional position. So we think differently about how we use our paraprofessionals so that we can provide that release time for the multi-classroom leader to coach the other folks on their team. And this is really where that teacher resident comes in. So the teacher resident in one way acts similarly to a reach associate, in which they can provide release time for that MCL to go and coach the other teachers on their team. But they are also working alongside that MCL oftentimes to learn right from the very best teachers that we have. And so to Melissa's point about preparing our teachers before they ever actually, you know, have a class of record of their own, this model allows for that. So they essentially get a year-long residency where they are learning alongside that multi-classroom leader to employ the very best strategies with students before they're ever sort of let loose in the wild, if you will, to do that work alone or to be supported, but just not in the same way that a multi-classroom leader can support them. So we believe that by employing the teacher residency model, allowing that university student to work with a multi-classroom leader, it will pay dividends to us in the future as our principals also get, it's also like a year-long interview, right? Our principals get to see that teacher resident in action and then pick them up and employ them as a teacher, as a first-year teacher. And so they know their skill set coming in, but it's like they get that year-long experience to make some of those mistakes in an area where it's safe and the multi-classroom leader can help before they actually have a class of their own. It's like that real world experience from start to finish is another aspect that we really like. Our teacher residence, like I mentioned, it's a year-long residency. So they are with that multi-classroom leader from day one. They attend professional learning with the multi-classroom leader. They get experience with setting up a classroom, with laying the foundations of the procedures of the classroom, with working through all the nuances that come throughout the year. And they get to experience that alongside the multi-classroom leader. So we believe that that is just going to set them up for success as they get a classroom of their own. And they will almost not be like a first-year teacher in many respects because they've had that experience as a teacher resident. And even better, you know, whenever I did my student teaching back in the day, it was not paid. And so that we really love that this is a sustainable model that compensates people for the work that they do. And so our teacher residents are paid for the work that they do on that campus. So again, that just is another benefit to the opportunity culture and teacher residency model that we've employed. The last kind kind of team member that I'll share with you is a team teacher. And that role is what you would kind of consider to be more of a traditional teacher, except for they do get the coaching from the multi-classroom leader. And there might be multiple team teachers on that team. This graphic just shows one, but there might be more than one team teacher. But they benefit from the coaching of that MCL, and hopefully eventually can move into that role if that's something that they would like to see as well. So by utilizing opportunity culture as a strategy, we're really able to think differently about how we utilize our staff and how we get really quality teachers into our system year one. Oftentimes they don't have the luxury of kind of honing their craft along the way. We really need them to be great from day one. And so this affords us to be able to do that. But we don't do this work alone. So I wanted to share with you who our partners are, because it is important that you have very strong partnerships. And so one of those partners is Public Impact. And Opportunity Culture is a model that they have employed and that they share with folks around the nation. Our Educator Prep program partner is the UT Permian Basin. And so it's their students that are acting as our teacher residents. And it is important that we work very well with UT Permian Basin because in many respects, these people are shared. And so we want to do what's right by our residents. And so we have to work really closely with them. And then UT Permian Basin has worked with US Prep in developing that more robust, more efficient residency model than what they perhaps could have done alone. So it's been really great to work with not only Public Impact and UTPB, but also US Prep. And all of that work, the initial work, so the great thing about Opportunity Culture is that it is, self-funded. So the roles that we mentioned, that multi-classroom leader, the team reach teacher, the resident even, all of that is funded within the regular staffing budget. But to kind of kick us off and get us rolling with Opportunity Culture, we did have a donation. And then the Bill and Melinda Gates gave the money for US Prep and UTPB to do the work on their residency program. So I did want to give some shout outs and some props to those folks because they've been really instrumental in implementing Opportunity Culture and then with the added layer of the teacher residency program. Okay, so we've shared with you what it is. Now we want to share with you a little bit about the results that we've seen because, we're very results oriented, and if it's not working, then why do it? And so the implementation of Opportunity Culture in the residency model, we've had some really great successes. We have only been doing this for really one full year where we have those multi-classroom leaders on the campuses coaching. But we've had some really great results. And that is evidenced by the NWEA MAP assessment that we've given. There's been some huge gains in student growth, in particular with those Opportunity Culture campuses, and then drill down even further into the grade levels that employ that multi-classroom leader to coach. They're seeing even greater successes. And what's even more amazing is, and you can tell that the coaching is working, that job embedded personalized professional learning is working, is that it's not only that multi-classroom leaders students that are growing, it is the team teachers that their students are growing as well. So we're monitoring all of that data to ensure that, as we implement this, that it is effective and we're seeing that result. In addition, you can see we've said it a couple of times about the extension of the reach of really great teachers. And you can see here we employed last year 27 MCLs, those multi-classroom leaders. Their reach was a little over 7,000 students. And in a traditional model, their reach, those 27 teachers, their reach would have been more like 1,500 or about 1,600 students. So you can see we've almost quadrupled their reach just by employing opportunity culture and strategic staffing. And then another result is really just the scalability of this model. We're expanding, we had 8 campuses for year 1, and we're expanding that to include 10 more. And we're doubling, or more than doubling really, our teacher resident capacity. And so there's not many initiatives that I know of that you can scale at that rate because of the really good work. And it really is all about the buy-in that we've had from our district and community and the results that we've been able to see and share, and that this work has been able to scale at this rate. So last, we want to leave you with a few nuggets of wisdom, because it wasn't always, you know, rainbows and unicorns along the way, although it's been a wonderful experience, and we would highly recommend this model to anybody that's interested. We've had some learnings along the way, and so we wanted to share with you some key takeaways that we feel like if you decided to employ something like this, or this in particular, that you could kind of glean from our experience. And the first is that this work really starts with school leadership. In many respects, they're the most important person that does this work. They have to have an innovative mindset, be willing to try something different, and help us in the selection of the campuses. We selected our campuses based on data. First of the kind of selection criteria was that leader. Are they innovative? Can they think differently? Can they communicate effectively? But we also looked at which of our campuses serve the most historically underrepresented communities, and which are traditionally really hard to staff. And so with that sort of metric in place, we were able to choose that initial 8 and then the 10 that joined us for this next year. Another thing that we have learned is that it's really important to explicitly define the roles within opportunity culture. These are all new terms. You know, we all love a good acronym. So the multi-classroom leader, the MCL, the TRs, the teacher resident. So, you know, it's just important to have some role clarity around what each of those specific people do within that team. And also in the kind of larger organization. For example, in our district, we also employ instructional coaches. And so if you look from the outside, you might think that the MCL also coaches teachers. And so there is some sort of overlap in function. However, the role of the MCL is different in that it's more focused and intentional. And so again, just communicating that role clarity was really important for us. And then communication. So that developing like a district and communication plan is really key. Like I've mentioned before, we've had some significant talent opportunities in our district, and we needed to think differently about how we staff. And with Opportunity Culture and that embedded teacher residency, that's allowed us to do that. And that's really built into the work, not on top of the work, not in lieu of the work that we're doing. It's built into the work. And so it's not something additional or extra. It is what we do. And then just to kind of button up all of our takeaways, I'll briefly share with you that we believe that all roles within our organization can and do benefit from coaching. That's from teachers to executive leadership. And so having a plan for how you're going to coach those different positions is really important. And so coaching for the MCL, coaching of the coach, if you will, was really important for us to establish, because while we've vetted and they've gone through the selection process, we know they're a great teacher. Oftentimes they've never held that coaching role before. And so they need support in that, in building their capacity as a coach. And so understanding, and again, being a learning organization, knowing that all people can benefit, all staff members can benefit from the job embedded personalized learning thinking through and planning on how you're going to coach your MCL was really important for us. So thanks for letting us share a little bit about our implementation journey. It has been a journey. It's been so much fun. Our partners are wonderful. Really, everybody that we've worked with has contributed to the success of our opportunity culture implementation. We really enjoyed talking. Hopefully you kind of got that. We really enjoyed talking about our experiences with implementing opportunity culture, because so far it has been one of the best methods that we've found that can address our systemic needs more holistically instead of applying band-aids. So with that, we'd love to answer any questions, or Melissa, I'll pass it back to you.
Ashley, we can definitely pause for any questions for a few minutes to see if anyone has any, right here and right now. We totally have time for.
And I'll monitor the chat as well. So I don't know if you all can come off mute or not, or if you would just like to drop some questions in chat. I'm seeing, thanks Star for posting one.
One of the things while Ashley's looking at that I wanted to point out, because sometimes I think looking at the diagrams of the MCL and the TRT and those that we looked at can be somewhat overwhelming until you do the work for a little while. Every campus was allowed to then build their teams based on their adults. And so there's no one size fits all. It's not like every single campus uses that model. Those are just available roles within the structure. And so, and then the way that it self-funds itself, it really is a budget neutral process, is that let's say you have a team of 5 teachers pre-opportunity culture. The minute you take one teacher out of the mix and you free up the salary and benefits that go along with that one FTE, then you utilize those funds to build the team. So the additional money an MCL will receive, the team reach teacher, to hire the teacher resident, to hire reach associate, so forth and so on. Depending on what a campus has traded in, if you will, then they have that money to build their team within those constraints.
Thanks, Dr. Howard. Yeah, so Star had a question. Have you paired the launch of opportunity culture staffing constructs with school action models through the school action fund? I don't know if you want to address that. I know that our
Yes.
School action fund with the portfolio planning. I don't know,
Right.
Dr. Howard,
So we have a couple of schools that are working through the school action fund. Not all of the campuses, but many of the campuses have incorporated opportunity culture into, one of their talent strategies, if you will. And so again, not a one size fits all, but that is a strategy that we've seen some of our school actions leverage.
All right, Melissa, I don't know if we have any more questions, but if you guys think of anything, then feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, we'll just leave you all with a few closing thoughts. Hopefully my screen is visible again. I think it's loading.
We can see it, Melissa.
All right, great. Awesome. So I think, Ashley and Dr. Howard really hit on all of these benefits, both short-term with addressing vacancies, targeted support for those for unfinished learning, and also just simply having more students taught by effective teachers. And additionally, these long-term benefits. I think one other area we wanted to point out here too is Ashley had mentioned that this was integrated in part of what they do. It was nothing that was on top of another thing, so to speak, to what they were already doing in terms of their systems for human capital system building, or instructional system. So I just wanted to re-emphasize that and just make that quick connection to how this could potentially also support districts to having that structured plan for TIA approval and growth in terms of like that overall planning for sustainability of your human capital system. But there's also other systems that you're working on too. Like some of y'all are involved in Texas Instructional Leadership, to name an example, and many other structures and systems, implementation of high quality instructional materials, so on and so forth. So this really merges in nicely with amplifying those systems and structures as well. I don't know, Jessica, if you want to add anything to that too, but I just wanted to hit that point really quick because we do see it as something that really integrates well with what you are already doing. Awesome. And then, see if I can advance slides. Okay. And then just a few quick points to land on here too. A few best practices related to engaging in, the implementation of these. Here's the mouthful: high quality sustainable residency through leveraging of these innovative staffing models such as opportunity culture. We want to just emphasize that it's really about that ecosystem of support for design implementation and continuous improvement and how important those are. So I know that Ashley had mentioned that those partnerships were absolutely necessary in engaging in this process. So we just wanted to re-emphasize just that building capacity alone is really challenging, and especially in a scenario like this, having those capacity building supports for both districts and the EdPrep program are critical to developing and sustaining those residencies and innovative staffing models. And then we also want to emphasize that program partnerships, the type of the EPP or the EdPrep program that you're partnering with to engage in this process does matter. We want to make sure that we're partnering with those really strong programs that have those high quality practices in place and are aiming at scaling their residencies to have, close to 100% of their teacher candidates going through a residency program within several years' time. So to that end, this is kind of like a coming attraction. We have a vetted teacher residency provider list that will be coming out soon, shortly, which is compiled of quite a few EdPrep programs across the state that meet this criteria as these vetted teacher residency providers who are working to scale to build these sustainable residencies. So we're super excited about that. And with that, that is all. So if you all don't have any more questions, I think we're good to go. And I believe like these materials will be available too. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. And we would just reinforce, if you have additional questions about and would like to learn more around high quality sustainable residency models or the implementation of opportunity culture residencies, please feel free to reach out. We're always happy to have one-on-one conversations and share more about opportunities that we anticipate coming down the line. Thanks, everyone.